Why? What is taking so long?
Let me ask you something. Do you go watch recaps before starting the latest season? And no, not the rubbish recaps that the studios do, but proper ones on YouTube that, get you back to speed. Well, I'll answer for you. Yes, and it's annoying. See, I'm a patient man, but the studios, they're testing my limits. Why do they take so long between the seasons? Things are getting worse.
Nothing to see here!
I understand the big hitters like Stranger Things, Rings of Power are expensive, so they take a long time to produce. But other ones, Reacher, The Wheel of Time, although that one's also kind of expensive, but Severance took 3 years. Euphoria was the same. We're not even sure how long it will be for a new Fallout. It's frustrating. Now, remember cable TV? It seems like things were much more regular back then. Friends, for example.
How you doing?
When we look at the release schedule, every year in September for 10 years, we could expect a new season. The schedule was predictable, stable, and regular. Just like we like it. It was easy to get hyped up. There wasn't too much time to forget what was going on in the last one.
Look, Ross is doing his watching TV bit.
Why did we change that? I don't think anyone asked for it. Lost was another one.
Previously on Lost.
6 seasons in total, released every year like clockwork, starting in 2004, and on average 20 episodes per season. Not only has it been going on for a while, but the list is also becoming bigger and bigger. Now it leads to viewer frustration and loss of engagement from us, the audience. Example of Westworld. There were 2-year gaps between 4 seasons. It was a solid show, but maybe not one to anticipate hotly, and the viewership fell significantly with each season.
Sadly, he lost his perspective.
I loved the first season, but by the time the second one came out, I had moved on. I wasn't even aware there were more than 2 for ages. And because the plot was fairly complicated, it was just too much hassle to get back to it.
I don't get it.
Catherine Pope, a Sony executive, admitted that the situation is untenable and not fair to the fans, and that the long breaks lose their viewers. Streaming is competitive, and there's so much content out there competing that we just forget when the shows take too long. And yeah, Stranger Things can afford that. They can afford the wait. But that's just one show, an exception to the rule. There have been times that I haven't remembered if I watched the previous season at all. I put on The Wheel of Time Season 2 only to realize after a few minutes that I've already watched it. Not to mention that many shows are in limbo. They weren't cancelled, but there's nothing official in the works yet. Taboo from 2017 with Tom Hardy. I know Sherlock's 4th season was okay, but that was released in 2017. Are we getting another one?
Stop inflicting your opinions on the world.
What about One Punch Man Season 3? Is it coming or not? Now, supposedly in 2025, but I don't know. And let's not even start on various Disney Plus shows like Marvel's Moon Knight. I'm not saying that these shows should get a season, but they are set up to continue. Should we wait for the news or not? At least only Murders in the Building gets regular yearly releases, I think because Steve Martin is used to how things were in the past.
I can take anything.
So what are the reasons for this predicament? When asked about the long gaps between the seasons, many people will say they were due to the pandemic.
They locked up their sets and they walked away.
Or the SAG-AFTRA and Writers Guild of America strikes, which, it impacted many productions. I'm not dismissing that. These are valid reasons, but I don't think they are the root cause of the trend. They just added fuel to the fire. Let's talk about production. Ambitious production and storytelling standards could mean it takes more time to get it right. From writing shows like Stranger Things.
And they write a lot, and they are very intense and serious about the quality of the continued writing. And so it takes a long time to write each season.
To filming complexities in Rings of Power or visual effects like in Mandalorian.
Game engine, real-time render, and video wall technology coming together to create a backdrop for the big, beautiful world of Star Wars.
If you rush it, you end up with a pile of shit. And in sitcoms or shows like Friends, Parks and Recs, The Office, the production value is lower. So making a 20-episode season is faster than doing 6 or 8 episodes of Stranger Things, where each is like a cinematic experience. Of course, the writing, the filming, the post-production still takes time, but overall it's much less complicated with sitcoms. Heroes, Lost, Prison Break used to push about 20 episodes per season, and these were also involved productions. May not be like Game of Thrones, but it's still more complicated than Friends. Sopranos, The Wire, Mad Men. I mean, the list of this prestige TV series is substantial, and they would release new seasons regularly. Severance will take 3 years before a new season, and it's not a fantasy show with dragons or anything like that. So that explanation is shaky at best. So what's next? Well, availability of the crew. Ben Stiller, producer and director of Severance, is a busy man. Adam Scott, John Turturro, they aren't just sitting at home. Pedro Pascal, he's Joel from The Last of Us, or Mando. He's got a lot on his plate. And even animated shows like Arcane or Blue Eye Samurai, they must take absolute ages to get it done. Not to mention Ella Purnell has a packed schedule.
Okie dokie.
The stars are busy. But remember, with the development of streaming services and high-budget TV shows, we also need writers, producers, sound designers, composers, art designers, stage designers, visual effects artists, everyone. The best in the industry are busy, very busy. And we can all see the downgrade of visual effects lately as people work flat out with overtime. When I worked at a movie studio doing dubbings, the crunch meant working weeks without a day off, overtime included. The shows are made by people. The best shows are made by the best people.
What do you think the best thing is about being on this show?
Working with these people, and I learn a lot.
And these are not as common as you think. So that's something I actually agree with, because making a good film or series, it's incredibly hard, and getting the team right takes time. The last reason I want to explore is the changing landscape and how people view streaming. So in the past, the show was a product that networks sold. Now the streaming platforms, Disney+, Netflix, Amazon, are the product. The subscription is what they sell. And the shows are the hook, the advertisement for the platform. And depending on the strategy, the option is either to mass produce cheap reality shows or high quality expensive series that will get a word of mouth and people talking. Subscribing to a new platform is much more inconvenient than just changing a channel, as we did in the past. Streaming platforms, they know it. They make their decisions with data, which is why they cancel shows and why it takes a while to evaluate a show's performance. So the production teams, they don't know if they will continue or not.
Hungry for nothing.
So what's the point of writing, 2, 3 seasons if you don't have the certainty of renewal? Which adds to production time too, because it's all too fragmented. The decisions take too long. Only when they get a green light, they can get back to work. Plus, the negotiations take time too. According to Christopher Cannon, a teacher professor of communication studies at Northeastern, the platforms know that, and they started experimenting with the model. We are used to binge watching the shows, but many opt for weekly releases or release them in parts because they want to keep us subscribed for longer. Plus, the audience is international and everyone expects to get their shows dubbed on day one of the release.
Ja jestem z Notting Hill, ty z Beverly Hills.
I have worked in dubbing before. And it's not just replacing the original language with a dubbed one. It's not a copy-paste job. We need translators, actors, studio recordings, editors, mixers, and deliverables, which takes additional time. And big shows have more languages than others. It's a very involved process that requires international cooperation and workflow. It's not easy. Specialized teams are required, and the production pipeline can get clogged up quite easily. We are spoiled for choice these days. I've always dreamed of having a home cinema. I don't have a dedicated room yet, but I have a big TV, I have a high-quality surround sound in my living room to watch my favorite series. And many of these are on par with the greatest blockbusters of the past. The writing, the acting, the music, the sound, the visuals. I get involved in these stories, moved by them, inspired. And yet, as I discussed in this video, this didn't come without consequences. Cinema is in perilous state as it's figuring out the next steps. The production teams and professionals are overworked, burnt out, or underpaid.
Now, are you going to go ahead and have those TPS reports for us this afternoon?
Because of the complexity and work each big TV series requires, the time between the seasons gets longer and longer. There isn't an easy answer to all of it, and there isn't a single reason for it. It's the ever-changing landscape of entertainment with new entries fighting for our attention. You know, the TikToks, the podcasts, the YouTube videos. And everyone wants a slice of the pie. But one thing is clear, though. We are storytelling species. From the cave paintings of our ancestors to the latest Netflix show, the stories we tell give our lives meaning and always will. And this means that the best ones will get their audience. Because in the sea of mediocrity, the cream rises to the top. Making and whipping up that cream though, well, that's not easy. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.
What a story, Mark.